I'm John Evans. Welcome to another episode of One on One. The coronavirus pandemic could end up costing North Carolina's community college system between $1.5 and $2.5 billion. That's the estimate by the system's president, Peter Hans. Enrollment numbers for the summer and fall semesters are still unknown. Also an unknown, when most of the students and employees will be able to return to the college campuses. What Peter Hans does know, he says, is the current community college students need help, that work needs to be done to improve the community college online learning experience, especially for students in the more rural areas. And he also knows that the schools need to make sure that when the students and employees do go back to campus, they'll be safe when they get there. I had the chance to talk with the system president about all of these challenges. Peter Hans, by the way, is no stranger to southeastern North Carolina. Peter Hans, president of the North Carolina Community College System. You're familiar with southeastern North Carolina. You grew up here, did you not?
Indeed, I did. Born Dozier Memorial Hospital in Southport in southeastern North Carolina, near and dear to my heart. Always will be.
How many years did you spend here before leaving to pursue your career?
Well, so my parents moved to the mountains when we were in middle school. So I can claim either end of the state, depending on where I am at the time.
I got you. Mr. President, obviously the reason we're talking today is COVID-19 and the impact it's having on the state's community college system and its students. What is the biggest impact that it's having on the system and the men and women who try to seek an education at one of the 58 campuses?
Absolutely, John. We're experiencing the same sort of uncertainty that, of course, all North Carolinians, all Americans, everyone across the world really is experiencing right now. But in terms of our education at community colleges, we made the difficult but necessary decision to move online wherever it was practical and possible. Now, about a third of our students already online. We have high quality online learning programs. We moved another third online, and there's about a third of courses, classes, programs that really can't be offered online that aren't university transfer like courses. And I'm talking here about things like welding. You can't move that online. Now, we made a few limited exceptions for continued face-to-face instruction in public health and public safety. Public health, of course, being nursing, respiratory therapy, that sort of thing. Public safety being police, fire, EMS, because we felt as though the community colleges continue to provide the workforce pipeline in public health and public safety was critical to the state's response to this emergency.
I had read, Mr. President, and you can correct me if this is not correct, but the community college system as a whole could lose between $2 and $2.5 billion. Something is going to have to suffer. What do you think will suffer the most?
Well, the revenue estimates for the state did incorporate that range of potentially between $1.5 billion, $2 billion. We don't exactly know yet, of course, because the duration, the severity of the economic downturn caused by this crisis remains unknown. I'm hopeful that it will be shorter rather than longer and mitigate some of those effects. Now, clearly, we've gotten some support from the federal government for higher education, for K through 12, for healthcare, for state government, for local governments, which we very much appreciate. But with the change in the tax filing and collection date from April 15th to July 15th, that's reduced the visibility of state lawmakers in terms of the amount of revenue they have to appropriate to community colleges, public schools, the universities across the board.
Do you have an idea on how many employees may have been laid off at any of the campuses, and are they the first ones that may be hired in the process back to full recovery?
Well, fortunately, at our 58 colleges spread across the system, and some of the very best right there in southeastern North Carolina, but 58 across the state. We've got 36,000 employees, full-time, part-time, serving a total of 700,000 students a year. As of now, any layoffs have been very minimal, mostly contract-related work, and we hope to avoid layoffs at all possible because the faculty and staff are part of our community college family. And we know that if historical trends hold true in economic downturns like recessions, community college enrollment actually spikes. So we want to be ready when our friends and neighbors come through our doors to community colleges, be there for them, to help them become employed again, to update their skills, become reskilled. And it's necessary to have our faculty and staff in place to do so effectively.
And I did want to talk a little bit about that, sir, a little bit later. You did mention a few moments ago that community colleges went online and distance learning for most of the classes. That had to be a fairly quick transition, I would understand. The semester currently is coming to an end. You will likely, if I'm not mistaken, do a lot more of the distance learning and online for the summer. The fall is up in the air. What are you working on to try to improve that experience for students? Because I imagine if you had months to design an online experience, it would be a lot better than the weeks you likely had to design it when this pandemic first hit.
Well, it's a great question. In some ways, we start out ahead, and in some ways, we start out behind in terms of online learning at community colleges. We start out ahead because a third of our students are already online, and they're used to taking those courses, and it's flexible, it's accessible, it's affordable, it works well for them, mainly in university transfer classes. Public and private universities get your 2-year degree, transfer those credits to a 4-year institution. Those other third of courses that we had to switch very abruptly, very rapidly to online learning, we've had bumps along the way, mainly because of students' access to technology, the devices, and also the high-speed internet access. High speed being necessary because of the amount of material you have to download at any one time. So
Sure.
with the support of the federal government funds and hopefully from state support, we're going to be able to upgrade our online learning capabilities considerably, certainly for this summer and going forward, because that's a critical way for all of our students to be able to access higher education.
And that's one thing that this pandemic has really brought to light, not just in the community college system, but in the university system, but
Yes.
specifically in K through 12. And you're talking about the disparity between those who can afford the best in technology, those who live in areas that do have high speed, versus those who may be a little more troubled in their financial aspects and the rural areas. So do you really have to make sure that you look out for that population as you move forward for this summer and then particularly possibly toward the fall?
Especially that population, vulnerable population in so many ways, vulnerable to the economic downturns in terms of losing jobs, income, housing, food insecurity, etc., all on top of maintaining high quality educational opportunities. So we've got to expand our access, our connectivity, make sure that we're able to provide advising, proctoring, support online to students, many of whom function a little bit better in an organized setting. You know, online works great for so many who are self-starters. They like to do it when they want to do it. Other people thrive in the classroom environment, and I don't want them left behind because their educational opportunities are just important as anyone else's. Now, our colleges have really rallied and risen to the occasion here. A lot of creative approaches, such as drive-in parking lot Wi-Fi access, where the students will stay in their car and yet they'll be able to pick up the signal with their laptop or tablet And many of our colleges have figured out ways to provide low-cost devices to students. And I'm so proud of them because that's that typical can-do community college spirit. We figure out a way to get it done.
I listened to a discussion on public radio this week, and it said that if four-year colleges are not able to reopen their campuses, whether it's for social distancing or if the pandemic still hasn't lessened in their areas, they may turn toward maybe not going to school for a year, maybe staying home, maybe entering a community college, taking a course that will transfer when they want to get back into the four-year university mode, if you will. Is that something that you're keeping an eye on? That you may have those four-year university students who, A, may not like the online distance learning where they are and may turn to a community college if for a short period of time to try to keep that education going?
Absolutely, and we'll be ready for them because the community colleges have very friendly relationships with public and private universities, able to transfer credits seamlessly in most cases, so that we'll be ready for them if that scenario develops. Now, it's certainly my intention from the community college side that if we can do so safely, that we'll be completely open in the fall. But we won't know until closer to that time, and we'll have to rely upon the advice and guidance of our elected officials and public health leaders as well. But we have that collaborative relationship with the UNC system, for example, where you're able to take courses at the community college, transfer them, and actually save a great deal on the cost of a four-year degree by starting at a community college or continuing your education at a community college. So we'll continue that relationship and bridge this crazy time for all students out there.
This may be an unfair question, but you have experience in the four-year university realm before you took this current position. And you just said, crazy time. Can you, as we sit here today, even begin to think what enrollment might look like for the fall for the community college system? Or is that something that really nobody knows right now?
John, it's difficult to say right now because I think here we are at the end of April. We're roughly 2 months into this from North Carolina's standpoint, at least. I certainly didn't anticipate this 2 or 3 months ago. August is roughly 3 months off right now. So my crystal ball is a little hazy. But I know this, I do know this, that whether it's the community colleges or the universities, they are committed, first of all, to prioritizing student and employee health and safety. That comes number one. But number two, providing as many educational opportunities as possible to the people of North Carolina. And it is likely to be a hybrid model, certainly more online offerings with face-to-face instruction, but with the proper precautions in place. When that certainly involves social distancing, face masks, or face coverings, I should say, of one kind or another, and certainly avoiding large gatherings until we've gotten the green light from our elected leaders and public health officials.
Unemployment numbers are astronomical right now. 22
Yes.
million across this country, more than 700,000 in North Carolina as we sit here talking today. Do you expect, even though many of the business owners will try to get and have said they're going to try to get those same workers back in the system, do you expect to get more of the unemployed into the community college system than maybe you normally would had this pandemic not happened?
You know, for the past decade, our enrollment at community colleges has been declining since the Great Recession. And this is no surprise. This is what happens when the economy is going up. Community college enrollment tends to trend down. When the economy is in distress, many people go to a community college to update their skills, and we'll have the doors open for them and embrace them willingly. I would anticipate, if historical trends hold true, that our enrollment will increase in the near term because of this dramatic, shocking alarming rise in unemployment. And we will be there for them, as we always have been, to help them when the recovery occurs. Community colleges, education generally, will be helping to drive that recovery, making sure that employers have the skilled workers they need to be successful and grow and prosper once again.
The community college system did help a great deal after the Great Recession. You look to have that responsibility again as we get closer to whatever normal is going to be?
Yes, we're in very close consultation with business leaders across the state. The community colleges pride themselves on being agile and nimble, very responsive to local labor market conditions. We understand employers need skilled workers. Workers need to have those skills to find the jobs they're looking for, to earn the income to provide for themselves and their families. That's the core of who we are. Community colleges are all about workforce development, economic development, and we will be there through thick and thin for the people of North Carolina.
Let's talk about those students that you mentioned before, Mr. President. A community college student is not like a four-year college student. Many of them have jobs. Many of them have families. Many of them have lost jobs or trying to reinvent themselves. What have you tried to do, or what will you look to try to do for many of them who may be hurt by this pandemic, who may have lost a job and don't have a way of being able to commit for an entire 2-year period of time? Many of them who might need a waiver for tuition if they're going to come back after being enrolled in whether it be Southeastern or Brunswick or Cape Fear Community College. How are you going to try to help them?
Well, you're absolutely right. There is no typical community college student. We have 50,000 students who are in high school right now taking college level coursework, all the way to people of advanced ages who are taking courses to update their skills or for personal enrichment, and everything in between. Many university transfer students, many in short-term workforce development classes, which usually last 8 to 12 weeks in high-demand fields. It's a wonderful program. There is something for everyone at a community college. Many of our students are hurting, to your question. Now, I'm pleased to report that $120 million from the federal government as part of the CARES Act has been provided to the community college system. 60 million of that 120 million will go for student emergency aid to support those students who've been affected by COVID-19. The other 60 million will go to the institutions, in part to upgrade our online learning offerings, to make sure the college campus facilities are all safe, and we're implementing the best health practices so that when we can welcome students back to campus, we'll be ready for them. Additionally, the Golden Leaf Foundation has provided us some emergency aid for our colleges to distribute to students and their families that are in a time of distress. We're there for them one way or the other.
You did mention the high school students. What about those dual enrollment students? Should they be worried that maybe some of the work is not going to transfer, or some of those things that they may be sitting there today listening to this, be worried about whether the work they've done is actually going to transfer to that four-year college or to that next level?
They should not be worried. They should take comfort in knowing that we worked through those questions with the K-12 system statewide and the university system to erase any questions about the grading, pass-fail, make sure the credits all go through seamlessly. I'm happy to report that each of the education sectors work together to address those questions on the front end.
As you look toward trying to help your employees, what are they telling you? What have you heard from the people who, let's face it, Murphy to Manteo, Currituck to the mountains, whatever you want to call it? You do have an awful lot of employees who may be home right now with somebody who's, who has coronavirus. What are your employees telling you? How are you reacting to their needs?
Well, given the sprawling nature of the community college system, we're experiencing different things in different places. In those areas where the outbreaks have occurred, the level of anxiety is higher. We certainly have moved all employees where it was possible and practical to teleworking status, and we'll follow the governor's stay-at-home orders in terms of what we do on campus and what our employees do from home. But there are a number of areas of the state that are ready to get back to work, and that involves us offering more programs with face-to-face instruction in construction, transportation, manufacturing, more healthcare programs, that sort of thing. Again, if we can do so safely and voluntarily for both faculty, staff, and the students, that nobody would be penalized if they're not ready. But because educational institutions are largely exempt from the stay-at-home order, we're serving essential businesses as defined under the stay-at-home order,
right,
and we're practicing the best guidelines from federal and state authorities. We will slowly start offering more face-to-face instruction through the coming weeks and months to where we are fully reopened again, I hope as soon as possible, because I just feel by that point in time, our students are going to be ready to go, provided they know their health will be prioritized number one.
So if you count New Hanover, Pender, Brunswick, Bladen, and Columbus, our 5-county area, we have less than 4% of the positive cases in North Carolina of COVID-19. Then you look at some other areas like Mecklenburg County, which is much higher of an urban area. So are you leaving it up to the local community colleges like CFCC or BCC that if they feel comfortable doing more in-class work, they can do it, whereas maybe Mecklenburg County or Wake County may have to hold off on something like that? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That's exactly right, Bob. What we've done, John, what we have done is provide a framework for the colleges to operate under, to provide guidance about, again, the public health and public safety courses. We've remained open if the local colleges felt they could do so safely. And we will expand that during the month of May to include the trades, construction, manufacturing, that sort of thing, more healthcare programs where we feel as though it can be done safely. But if for any reason our colleges feel as though it would endanger our faculty and students, we don't want to push. Again, priority number one is their health and safety.
Understand. I know you'd like to give your employees a pay raise.
Oh, wow.
I know
yes.
it was something that, as I do reading just some research, I know it was something you wanted to do and had hoped to do. But obviously the money you're getting in has to go in priority. So if somebody is working at one of the institutions and listens to this, is there possibility of a pay raise, or does all this funding really have to go toward these other priorities first?
Yeah, the challenge for state lawmakers is any salary increase is a recurring expenditure. And these federal funds coming in are one-time money. And you can't fund permanent positions with one-time money. So this is enormously frustrating. There is an injection of support from Washington, but it can't go for much needed faculty and staff salary increases. Now, before all this occurred, we had a basic consensus amongst the governor, the legislature, Republicans, Democrats, you name it, for what looked like a 5% increase for community college compensation. And it was much needed because our faculty are 44th in the country in terms of their standing with compensation. And there has been so much emphasis in recent years on public school teachers. And we are fully supportive of the gains that have been made there. It's now up to 29th in the country for public school teachers. Again, thank you, Governor, thank you, Legislature, for your leadership in that area. but please don't forget about community colleges. Well, we were right at that point, I believe, of passing a 5% increase when all this happened. So that is, it breaks my heart because our people work their tails off and they deserve a raise. And I know as soon as conditions allow, we'll be able to get it to them. But that one pains me.
You and I are from the same generation, roughly.
Yes.
Can you fathom being a student right now, whether it's in middle school, high school, community college, secondary education? Can you even fathom what these students are going through right now trying to get their educations?
I really find it hard. I find it hard for myself at times to process everything that has happened, the seemingly contradictory information out there, trying to see into the future, even the near-term future, understand the nature of the virus. It is so challenging. So my heart really does go out to those students because they've experienced a shock to their system, to their world. I worry about their mental health during this episode, and I'm hoping that, you know, it's like I tell my colleagues, there are days when you're going to hit a wall, and some days the best thing you can do is regroup, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, love on your family, love on your friends, and just pull yourself together. Because the next day when you hit that wall, you'll be ready to climb it. You'll be ready to scale it or to break through it. But we've got to take that sort of approach, I think all of us, but particularly our young people, during this crazy, crazy time.
What do you say to all those people who were visiting your campuses 3 months ago to either further their education, continue their education, reinvent themselves, who are learning online and looking to get back into that community college venue and continue their education as we sit here today? What's your message to those people who are seeking education at one of those 58 campuses?
Well, my message to the people seeking higher education, whether it's at a community college or a university, is we will be here for you. Right now, it's high quality online learning opportunities, some limited face-to-face instruction in particular areas of the workforce, but you can't hold good people down. And the faculty and the staff of community colleges who care so deeply about our students, we will be up and running as soon as we possibly can. We will help you realize your dreams. We will be there for you as you prepare to provide for yourself, provide for your family. Never forget that. Good times, bad times, community colleges, always here, solid as a rock.
How often do you get back down to the coast?
As often as possible. I hate, of course, that they've canceled the 4th of July celebration,
yes.
But I understand all the planning and the you know, everything that goes into that. But I miss it. I miss it. I miss it. Grew up right on River Drive there in Southport.
It's a special place. I've been here 27, 28 years now, and I really can't see myself going anywhere else. Do you still consider this part of North Carolina home, or do you split your time?
You know, I split my time happily. I truly love this state. I don't know if you ever read Our State magazine.
Yes.
I'm a sucker for that thing because I really just, there's no part of North Carolina that I don't love. So, which is particularly good thing as I'm on the road a lot, whether it's to the southeast, northeast, out west, along I-85 corridor and the Piedmont. I'm happy wherever I am in North Carolina. I like Eastern barbecue, Western barbecue. I mean, you name it.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, there you go. See, I anticipated that one. That's a truthful, honest answer. People think I'm being straddling the fence on that, but I love some vinegar and I love some tomato sauce.
I love
too.
some tomato sauce. So you are a true North Carolinian in every sense of the word. Hopefully you'll be getting down here to the coast pretty soon, and we'd like to get you in our studio and talk a little bit more about your lifetime along the coast and better times as we move forward.
I would love to do that, and I want to thank you and all your colleagues, WECT, and in journalism generally, because we are all relying on you right now to understand and make sense of what's happening. You've been a rock there for us, just as community colleges are a rock in education, and so I want to thank you for all you've done for many years to inform the people of southeastern North Carolina about what's going on in the world around them.
A big thank you to Peter Hans, the president of the North Carolina Community College System, for sparing some of his time for this week's podcast interview. If you want to check the latest news and updates on the work being done on those college campuses, just head to nccommunitycolleges.edu. Now, before we go, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please download and subscribe to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast on whatever app you use to listen to your favorite shows. And if you would be so kind, please leave us a rating or a review. Let us know what you think of our interviews. The more feedback we have from our listeners like you, the higher we'll be listed on all the podcast apps, the better chance we'll have of bringing in even more new listeners. I'm John Evans. Thanks so much for joining us for this week's episode of One-on-One. Stay safe.